Well, I know that all of you all can sympathize with me. Just think, one of these days, you'll be up here doing this, and you'll be praying for yourself. But I'm really glad to be here. It's very much of a privilege to even be asked, even though it does strike nerves and fear, it is a privilege. And Brother Jake gave me this topic to speak on of hospitality in the church. So, I'm not an expert in this field. I have a lot of work to do to be where I need to be in the subject of hospitality in different areas. But I think it's good for all of us just to sort of hear a little bit of an encouragement. I think we're already doing really great at TAC, but there's some other ways that we can be effective in hospitality. So we're going to talk about it just for a little bit. I did some research when I was thinking about this speech, and I found that Mother Teresa had an amazing quote. Mother Teresa, little Mother Teresa, she said, "I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples." And that really just sunk in with me, because we can all create ripples in our world, and it can make a change. I just want to encourage us all to create positive and heartfelt, genuine ripples across TAC, and not only TAC, but take it through the front doors into our communities and our homes, our workplace, our schools, wherever we are. Each one of us can do our part, and together we can really make a difference. As we do that and obey God in this Christian hospitality, He will come alongside us and strengthen us to be even more powerful and approachable, and to form really lasting relationships. It's really amazing when you open up and you're a little bit vulnerable to meeting new people. It's amazing how God can connect two people that are so opposite, that have really seemingly nothing in common. And we've had it happen to us, Phil and I. We've been challenged before by people that we didn't know if they even really wanted to be our friend, or if we had anything that we could really link up with. And come to find out, they're like massive fishermen, or they're doing something that I'm so excited about. And I mean, it bonds you together. It's so neat how God really works. So be brave when you're feeling like you might be a little bit nervous about approaching somebody, because they may be the key to your next lasting relationship. So there's several verses in the Bible which pertain to this, and it's not a surprise, because God's, his whole, when Jesus was on the earth, that was his whole mission, was to reach out. So I did write the verses there, and I'm going to just read them quickly. You're very much familiar with all of these, but just to let you know, it's just not the TAC, it's not us, it's a commandment. It's coming from Jesus. He really had a ministry of hospitality, and he went out of his way to reach those that no one else would reach. So in Hebrews 13:2, it says, "Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unaware." And that really gives you goosebumps. You don't know. You don't know who you're going to come in contact with. 1 Peter 4:9 says, "Use hospitality one to another without grudging." And in the parentheses I wrote grumbling, because it is a commitment to be in hospitality. It's a commitment to be an usher, a hostess, a connect team, an outreach, a community. And sometimes it can become kind of grueling and hard, but God blesses it so much. You come back just excited. You want to do more. Mark 9:41 says, "For whosoever shall give you a cup of water to drink in my name, because you belong to Christ, verily I say unto you, he shall not lose his reward." We don't do it for the reward, but that reward is there.
That's good.
Ephesians 6:7 says, "With good will, doing service as to the Lord and not to men." And Hebrews 13:16 says, "But to do good and to communicate or to share Forget not, for with such sacrifices God is well pleased. So it could be a sacrifice that you're giving to be involved in hospitality. And the last verse is Matthew 25:40. And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, you have done it unto me. So that gives us some inspiration. We can be brave. We can open up our hearts and our homes to be hospitable to new people, because there was a time when you were new. We were all new. We walked in the door, we didn't know anybody, and somebody reached out to us, and that made a major difference. Hospitality is an important virtue. We may prefer not to be bothered by or to bother others. Hospitality requires us to accept others when they come into our lives, whether or not we like them. Hospitality is treating strangers and friends alike. It is welcoming one another into our homes and lives. Hospitality is a sacred duty. That makes it all the more imperative that we all practice hospitality, whether or not we're comfortable with it. If you're not comfortable with it, if your personality type is a little bit more laid back, you're not a real outgoing person, you can still practice all kinds of amazing hospitality. You can do all kinds of things that don't take you out of your comfort zone.
Right.
Has there ever been a time when someone literally saved you, rescued you, or blessed you, that was such a pivotal time that it made a difference in your whole life? Jesus practiced radical hospitality. He went out of his way to practice that, and it made him very unpopular. But those who he blessed and he healed and saved and delivered, they never forgot the encounter. The last time I spoke, I talked a little bit about how we had people that came alongside of us whenever Hurricane Harvey hit, and we had 2 of our family homes flooded and ruined, and I talked about how Brother Carr came and his leg was in a cast, and he came time after time carrying these 5-gallon buckets full of Clorox and all the things and food and water. I mean, he was there. Every time we turned around, he was walking up the driveway, you know. And it was just such a neat, I mean, it made you feel so humble, you know.
Yes.
Here's the pastor with a broken whatever. He was out helping all kinds of people. I mean, I think we had 20-something families in our church that flooded and had to be cleaned up, and it was a mess, wasn't it, Shane? It was a horrible mess. So, I wanted to have Sunni, my daughter, Sunni Gonzalez, come up and give you all just a little snapshot of how this orchestration happened during their evacuation from Harvey. I know everybody's tired of hearing of Harvey, but I'm just telling you, there were things that happened that we're still shaking our head over. God sent angels and people that helped us, and it was like an orchestration of events that we could have never come up with it. And we didn't even know about some of these things until it was all over with, and then we found out, oh my word, how did that even happen? So Sunny's gonna come up under duress, and she's gonna, because I can't tell it like she can. Go ahead, sister. Sorry to say Brannan. Sister Gonzalez.
Well, it's funny that she used the scripture about angels among us, because we talk about everything, but we didn't talk about this. And I thought about that scripture with all the people that did help us that day. And after the event, so much drama and so many details. I'm going to try to condense it down to just the most amazing things that happened. Of course, it wasn't amazing at the time. But we live up the road over the Pine Island Bayou Bridge in Artesian Acres toward Lumberton, and we live on the edge of a bayou. And when we heard about Harvey, we weren't really concerned. We were more concerned about my mom, because her neighborhood entrance floods when it just rains normally. And so we were like, you need to come to our house. We're gonna be okay. You know, we're way up on this hill. Our neighborhood's very hilly. We're like, you know, and she was like, I think I'll be okay. Dad was at work. He was in Beaumont. Ended up being stranded in Beaumont for 10 days. So it worked out that she had just decided, no, I'll be okay at my house here in Lumberton, in the middle of Lumberton. So my grandmother had just turned 90 at the time, and Savannah had just turned 2 a week before. And she lived a street over and she was by herself, and the rain started, kept coming, and we were like, oh, we'll be fine. We know that this neighborhood flooded in 1994. It only came to the very bottom of our property, which is down a hill, and there's a stop sign and And all that night when it rained, we were still like, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. The water's coming up through our yard, and we're looking, with a flashlight. We were up all night watching fire ant colonies floating on the water. When you shine your light, when it stops shining, that's a fire ant colony. Know that now. And until the water got about an inch from our door, we were sure that it was going to stop. You could not have told us that our house was going to flood. So about 2 o'clock that morning, Shane knocked on my grandma's door. He's like, I think you need to come to our house. And she grabbed a little Walmart bag with a t-shirt and a blouse and a skirt. And that's what she took out of her house. And we had her at the house, and so Mom was frantically texting us all night long. We're gonna have to get a boat. We're gonna have to, and we were like, it'll be okay. No, we'll be fine. We have power. We have food. It's fine. So about 6 o'clock, it was the water was like inches from the door, and she's like, we've got to get you a boat. But the boats were not running until daylight because it wasn't safe. We started packing up everything, and Shane, bless him, had a kayak. And by the time we got out of the house, it was mid-calf high. The water was in the house everywhere. And we still had power. And I was like, when that water reaches an electrical outlet, what happens? Yes. And what about all these other houses that already have it over the roof? The water, real quick, let me Google, how does electricity work? I think we need to get out of the water. So we loaded my 90-year-old grandmother onto that kayak out of our front door, had our waders on, it was still pouring down rain. And Shane had parked his truck up the hill, and he took her up the hill to the truck, got her in, came back for me, 2-year-old Savannah, and our cat. And we had one bag full of stuff, and I had my phone. I don't know if you're familiar with waders, but they come up high. So I had my phone, and it was raining, and I had a raincoat on, and so my phone was not easily accessible. And we're slogging through our front yard lake in the kayak, and my phone rings. And no one knows this about me, but I don't answer the phone hardly if I know you. Sorry, that's just how it is. But especially if I don't know the number. And I was like, I cannot believe I'm getting a phone call right now. I'm in my front yard lake getting a phone call. And I found my phone and I answered it. It was like an 832 area code. Answered it. Hey, Sunny, this is Matt McLeod. And a lot of you don't know, but Matt McLeod used to go here. We were good friends growing up in the youth group. He's Donald and Jason Bierce's relative. Some of you know him better than others. But, and I was like, hey, Matt, I'm not standing, my life's not falling apart now. And he goes, I heard you need a boat. Yeah? And I had not talked to him in probably 15 years. I didn't know he was even in the state. I was like, where are you? He's like, I'm in Lumberton, I have a boat. Do you need to be picked up? And we were like, yes. We thought Lumberton and Keith Road, if you're familiar, we thought you could just go from point A to point B in a boat and grab us and we'll be back. It's fine. Okay, well, I'm gonna send a boat out to get y'all. And I hung up, and Shane was like, who are you talking to? Hang up the phone, get in the truck. I was like, it was Matt McLeod, he's gonna send a boat. So we started leaving the neighborhood, and our hilly neighborhood, we didn't know it was this hilly, but the hill went down before it went up to get out. So the water had gotten too high, and Shane had a huge lifted F-250. Shane, I'm sorry, I don't know all the specifics if you're watching this. But he couldn't drive through it. Backed up, finally figured out we were gonna have to walk through a neighbor's yard to the back, through their backyard, through their fence to the service road, because that was the highway. And the neighborhood was up on an incline. They were not in danger of flooding. So luckily that neighbor was home, blessing number 2, and Shane was able to park his truck, and he had to carry my grandmother through the yard, through the road, to the feeder road. So then we got to the feeder road without a truck, and we looked, and it was dry. The ground was dry, but we could see that there was water down toward Keith Road. And I was like, we are gonna have to walk to Lumberton. But that's okay, we gotta do whatever we gotta do to get out of here. And right when I turned around, a truck was coming the wrong way down the service road, didn't matter, and no one was driving. He was coming down, he rolled down his window, do y'all need a ride? And, you know, my fight or flight, and I was like, no, we're fine. I don't know who you are. You can just keep your help. And had it not been for my grandma in Savannah, I probably wouldn't have taken his help. But it was such an easy thing for him to just, hey, do you need a ride? But it was so hard for me to accept help, because I was the one always helping. You know, sure, it's no big deal. Like, you just don't know what nothing it could be for you to do something and such an impact. And it was still pouring down raining, and then it was cold by that time. So we climbed into the back of his truck. I saw a car seat back there. I was like, okay, he's probably okay. And we sat, and I was like, Matt, where's the boat? We don't see a boat. He's like, they don't see you either. I'm like, well, we didn't know that between Keith Road, Lumberton didn't know, and we didn't know that in between the road goes up and down. You couldn't just take a boat from point A to point B, because it was dry, and then you got to an exit and it went down, and then you would need a boat, and then the road came back up. Then it was dry again. So there were several of these situations. Finally, after many phone calls, and we started figuring out what was going on, the story, we got to a boat, and he drove us through the feeder road to Keith Road, and it ended up being Sean Cass, who goes to church here in Beaumont. He had a boat. He lives off Keith Road. He drove us to Keith Road, where it got dry again. Then when we parked at Keith Road, who walks up but Donald Bierce and his waiters? Sister Brannan, my grandma. Side note, she had taken off her shoes because she didn't want to get them wet.
Oh, no.
So, barefoot on the feeder road, trying to so he picks up my grandma. No, yes, just let him do it. Just zip it. Let's get through this. And Donald carried her to the next truck, which was another stranger, and we rode in his truck to the next boat. We got in that boat, which was Brother Aaron Ardwan, and I think Matt ended up being in that boat, and Donald. And we rode in their boat. So 2 boats, 2 truck rides, 2 boats. But we rode through, you couldn't see the highway at all. There was no guardrails. It was so high, and my phone was tucked so far down, and it was raining. I couldn't even video it, but unless you rode in the boat over the highway, I can't explain that sensation of just what in the world. So I know this is a really long story, but I'm diabetic and require insulin to exist. So I had my little box of all the insulin from our fridge, and in the craziness, I had left it in one of the boats, the first boat, Sean Cass, and didn't know it. And then when we finally made it to my mom's house, Donald called us. Did you leave your box of medicine in one of the boats? And I'm looking around, yeah, I guess so. I don't know what I have or what I don't have. And he said, I think Sean said that he thought I knew you, and so we'll bring it to your house. And okay. So the fact that Sean knew Donald, who knew us, really could have possibly saved my life, because we don't keep insulin anywhere else but our own refrigerator. And so Matt and Ashley McLeod really adopted us during this whole time, and they had a little girl that was the same age as Savannah, have a little girl, And so Savannah's birthday party was 2 weeks before this happened, and she had gotten this Minnie Mouse microwave. And it makes all the noises, and it spins, and it pops. Yay, let's eat a tea party. And she loved it. And we had to leave it. Of course, we weren't thinking about the microwave, you know. And when we got to Mom's house and we were safe, Matt called and said, okay, what size is Shane? What do y'all need? We're gonna bring y'all some stuff. I was like, we were both just fighting it. No, we're fine. Just stop. We're okay. All we needed, you know, our house, we'll make it. And they knocked on the door with Walmart bags full of clothes and toys that their little girl didn't need anymore, blocks, and a Minnie Mouse microwave.
Oh, wow.
They were not at that birthday party. And they brought that microwave, and I lost it because we didn't know how much damage we were going to come back to. When we left, there was probably about a foot of water in the house. We were like, okay, you know, the fireplace, you know, anything. We weren't thinking about water that was going to seep up the couch, and, you know, anyway. So we spent 10 days with Mom and Dad. And with Mom, Dad was stranded in Beaumont because the Pine Island Bridge broke. And during that time, we could not people kept flying drones over our neighborhood, but they would stop one neighborhood before ours. Like, somebody please, we will pay you to fly a drone. We just kind of need to see how high the water got so that we can start making plans. And a connection of moms called, like, the next day after this happened. We have a townhouse in Beaumont that we're not using right now. Would y'all be interested in it? I don't know, but yes. I don't know if we need it, but go ahead and put us down. And we ended up staying in that townhouse until the following Easter. We moved in just a couple days after the storm, and just, I don't need it. Do y'all need it? You can have it. You can, yeah, just no problem. Just go ahead and borrow it.
Wow.
Apartments were gone. Everybody needed an apartment in Lumberton. Everyone needed a place to stay that had flooded, and there was nothing available. And that was another thing. So then, so one more thing about the Minnie Mouse microwave. When me and my dad finally could make it back to our house, the only door that wasn't worked enough to open were the back doors into my office, and you know, we had all of our gear on, and we opened the door, and the first thing that I saw beside all the piles of leaves and junk from the bayou was a Minnie Mouse microwave at my feet, and I was just like, but she got a new one. So the Minnie Mouse microwave will always be in my memory. But we had just started coming back to TAC after attending another church for a while, and it had been a while since we had come here, and there were all new people, and I grew up here. It was a weird time. I grew up here, but then I didn't know who was here now, and Shane had not really attended here, so everyone was new to him, and everyone showed up. It didn't matter that we didn't know y'all. Y'all came and hauled trash, nasty. It was nasty. 10 days of, I didn't even want to do it in my own house. I remember Elizabeth taking Savannah's dresses out of the closet and gently just laying them on the grass, letting the sun, and I was just like, I don't even know who y'all are, but thank you so much. I don't even want to be doing this. So all of the pieces that came together for our, I don't say salvation, I mean, it really was. You saved our minds, because it just really showed us how willing people were to help and how unwilling we were to accept the help. It's so hard when you think that you are capable of handling your own situations until you are at the point where you cannot. We could not have walked from Keith Road to Candlestick, where McDonald's is in Lumberton, with a 90-year-old grandmother and a 2-year-old child and a cat. So, I mean, it was a horrible experience that I do not wish on anyone, nor do I wish to go through it again, but it really kind of restored our faith and hope that, you know, it's gonna be okay. We've now made all these connections with all these people at church. You know, Brother Carr, I was gonna bring that up, with his poor broken leg, and he was walking through the mess, and didn't bother him at all. You know, just whatever y'all need, just let us know. Box fans, Clorox, water. Yeah, lots of water. So anyway, if you did show up to my house to clean, thank you so much. I don't know if anyone in here did, but I know a bunch of the youth did. So that's our story, our hospitality story.
You don't really want to remember those things, but there was a couple things she said that I had already forgotten. But anyway, I know that's just one of our stories.
One more thing. When Matt called that morning, the first time, do y'all need a boat? I said, yeah. He said, do y'all still live out toward the bayou? And I said, yes, we do. He said, okay, I know exactly which house you're at, because we almost bought a house two doors down from y'all a couple months ago. So he already knew where, I mean, it's hard to explain where we live, and he was like, oh, that's okay, I already know where y'all live. Sorry, I forgot to add that.
It was amazing. It was. But anyway, thank you, Sunny. I couldn't have told all that so much. So that's just a small little snapshot of what goes on in the realm of the Spirit all the time. God is such a personal God, and whatever Rebecca needs today, you know, we don't think about really praying for little things, you know, but He provides little things that are little, but they're big to us, but they're little to Him. So I think that our church does a fantastic job with hospitality, and I want to give kudos to the Bierces and Brother Seaton and Micah and all the people that are involved in ushering, hostessing, connect groups, and community outreach. They're doing a fantastic job. And I wanted Letisa to say her little testimony, but she's not here today. I'm going to say it for her, but I can't say it the same. She was in our orientation class, and Letisa and Greg are our new couple that's just been here a few weeks. And she gave this personal testimony in our class that they had been visiting many churches, and they had been seeking for a church home. And Greg said one of the churches he'd been to for I forget how many weeks he had attended as a guest, and not one person ever reached out to meet him or shake his hand or even speak to him. So he got discouraged about looking for a church, so he just kind of quit. And I guess Deanne witnessed to him, the Perrys, and I think they're neighbors. But anyway, she said the first time they came here, within 7 minutes, they knew it. This is their place. We're their people. Because there was just so much warmth and so much inclusion and so much just love. And Brother Seaton's eyes got big, and he said, well, that's what we need. We need more testimonies like that, you know. But she's very honest about it, so that made me feel good. So here at TAC, we have friendly faces at the front door. We have all kinds of things that we do to help people. We have car parking for the elderly. Sunny's arranged a little diabetic emergency team for people in services that has quick issues, and her and some of the nurses are teaming up to have supplies for people that when they need it, and that's a really good thing for people. And within the church body, there's all kinds of things we can do. And you know, when you see those miracle opportunities, if you'll just take a name, just one name, and put that in your brain, and that week, send them a little text, send them a card, give them a call, or if they're in the hospital, a visit speaks so much, if you can. That is very impactful. If you're not an outgoing person, if it's hard for you to approach a stranger and think of something to say, you can do the prayer and care ministry. So when you see the prayer request, make a note, pray for that request. Keep your ears open when you're talking to your friends. They have a friend that has a need. If it strikes in your heart, you know that is something you need to be praying about. The GroupMe text pages are really good. The guys get requests, the women get requests. There's a lot of different versions of that. So I feel like the GroupMe chat rooms have really brought us together. I don't know if all of y'all agree with me, because it does ding quite a lot. And at work, I have to turn that thing off, because I'm like, oh Lord, who's sick now? Help us. And last night, it got pretty intense. But I feel like it's brought us together. I mean, we're all scattered in so many different towns around, and we come here on Sundays and Tuesdays, we say hi, blah, 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 bye, we're gone. And there's just no connection, you know, during the week. So I think that's great, because I'm all for that, but like I say, everybody might not be. When I'm stumped about something to say, which usually doesn't happen very often, but if I am, I usually ask them about their kids or their grandkids, because there is a never-ending topic of things to talk about when you're talking about kids and grands. And then try to find out kind of what they're all about. What are they interested in? What are their hobbies? What do you like to do? Because my pet peeve, and Phil knows it, anytime we go to a funeral, I read the thing, he did, can you believe, I wish I would have known that that person did whatever so-and-so, or you find out all the things and they're gone, they're dead.
Yeah.
So find out the things before that, and you can communicate with it and talk about it and visit with it, and you just don't know how much of a lasting relationship that can bring to you. It's really neat. If you're having struggle of practical ideas on how to be hospitable, not hostile, hospitable. I just have a few things. They're just common things. Suggest a coffee date, go out to eat. Sunday after church is a good time. Maybe not today, but find somebody that's a challenge to you. Invite them out to eat, get to know them, and you'll be shocked. Their walls are going to come down, and you're going to be able to really relate to each other.
Right.
If they're new members, send them a card. Let them know who you are. Give them your phone number if you're okay with that. Text message. Just make them feel at home. At Christmas time, we do this because we learned it from somebody else. We try to find one of our favorite restaurants, and right around Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, we try to bless our waitress or our waiter with a nice offering. It's just a little anonymous thing, and it's really fun to do that. And there's people in the church that benefit from that too. So if you know of somebody around the holidays, give it to Brother Carr, make a nice little card, don't sign your name. It's really good. It makes you feel awesome. And I'm sure it makes them feel awesome too when they're in need of a little $25 gift card or something like that. This is the prayer I like to pray. I've told you before, I learned it from another person. Lord, lead me today to those I need, and to those who need me. It goes both ways. And let something I do today have eternal significance. So when you pray that, it kind of makes life a little bit serious. You think about what you're doing during the day. Is this going to have eternal significance? Sunny touched on it. Phil and I were raised here. He was here since he was a little kid, and Brother Cole and Sister Cole were his aunt and uncle, so his family was intertwined, and we've been here since day one, and he has especially, and I have for 40 years since we've been married. But there was a little time when we left here for a few years to go help another church in the area. And during that time, there was a lot of transition in the church, and so a lot of the older members, not old in age, but previous members, some of them moved, and then we got a lot of new people. But during that time, we weren't here. So when we came back, it was the most bizarre thing to come back to your home church, and there's strangers at the door. They don't know you, you don't know them. It's so awkward. And it was very hard for me, maybe not as much for Phil, but it was for me because I had been involved in every single department here. I mean, from day one. Yeah. And I had to I've been here, well, I was raised here, and we just left, but we're back, and I had to start all over. And it was so good for me. It was so good for my pride. And now I can relate more to new people. I know how y'all feel. You see all these women, you have no idea who they are, and everybody doesn't seem to be overly friendly sometimes. A lot of times it's our perception, because we're so sensitive about it.
Right.
Sabrina Randall, she was my sunshine in the very beginning. She was there, we sang together. When I started praise singing, after a few years I did, but Sabrina was always a light that helped me.
Yeah.
So, let's see how much time I got. Ooh, we need to be done. We need to be done.
Take your time.
Well, we got a Quentin and I are on the music this morning. This is one last thing. My husband gave me this to say. He said, let everybody know we can create our own ripple. We're creating ripples, is what this whole thing's about. We're rippling through the church. It's hard to talk to people in the sanctuary, but if you'll go in the opposite door than you normally go in and start on that side and just greet people till you get to your seat, and when you leave, go out the opposite side and say bye to people as you leave. It's amazing how many people you can connect with. You don't have to have a long conversation, but it's really helpful to just try to get out of your box a little bit. So I love you all. Don't forget, let's make some ripples. Yes, Lisa?
Sis Robin, I just got a text. My dad just texted me. We all know Michelle and my dad. They just had to take Michelle to the hospital. She's having chest pain. Can you stop and pray for her?
Yes, amen. Jesus, in your name, I pray for Michelle. For Michelle Kelly, Lord Jesus, she needs a touch from you right now, in Jesus' name. God, I pray that your presence will be with her. Oh, God, let her feel your peace.
God, Lord,
Oh, Jesus, open the doors for treatment, oh God, Lord Jesus' name. In Jesus' name, oh God, let her feel your peace right now. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. In the name of Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Okay, see all of y'all in a minute. Thank you for listening.